Welcome to the Jeremiah Show. This is my favorite kind of show to do. I get to discover new artists with you. Music artists are my favorite people to talk to because they usually have such incredible stories that include faith and hope. And I enjoy hearing about their personal growth as they overcome barriers to the entry of the music industry. It's a tough industry. Think about the endless hours that your favorite musicians have spent alone practicing their instrument. Hours and hours of solitude and focus to create music for you. I think the music artist is a really special type of person. Got the heart of a lion. And I'm often amazed at their dedication to their craft. I mean, think about it. The odds are stacked against them. I think I heard there's 100,000 new singles put out every day. I mean, think about that. That's incredible. So the odds seemingly are stacked against them to break through, to pursue a career in the music industry. Usually starts out with doing it for the sheer love of it, because they don't have a choice. They have to. They have to make music. This makes them inspirational, mystical a little bit, and magical beings, in my opinion, worthy of a deeper dive, a second look. Pulling back the curtain, I want to hear their story. How is it that they just don't give up, but instead keep believing? I wish we all had that perseverance, that faith in ourselves and in our arts. And because of this courage and this perseverance, if they were in any other industry, they would undoubtedly be at the top of their field. You can tell I greatly admire music artists. They fascinate me, and my special guest today is no exception. I met him through his music submission to our new station here in Santa Barbara, Radio Evolve. He's a solo artist from one of my favorite little seaside towns, Carpinteria, California. And his new single, The Lowlands of Holland, is the second single from his forthcoming fifth studio album. There's a great story behind that. I bet he's got a great story. So you want to find out with me? Please help me welcome to the Jeremiah Show for the very first time, Beau James Wilding. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing all right. I've got my cold brew in hand and I'm ready to jump in.
Hey, there you go. Cold brew, right? Middle of the day. I think I needed one of those. I actually just had a nice tea, so I'm joining you in spirit. Um, just to get this out of the way at the top here, because I really do love Carpinteria. You live in a great little city there. And I should probably put out there for our worldwide listeners, don't go to Carpinteria. Keep it small and keep it a small
It-
town.
Wherever you live, it's really, really great. There's no need to come here. It's boring. It's okay, but you can find a lot of fun stuff where you live at home as well.
Yeah, just believe us. Take our word for it. So, did you grow up in Carpinteria,
I
Bo?
certainly did not, and I feel very fortunate to call Carpinteria home at this juncture in my life. I grew up in Sacramento, and I moved here in 2007.
Okay, so that's a good amount of time. So you've had some good days there in Carpinteria. Do me a favor also before we get started into learning about you a little bit. I'm always fascinated at, like what what do you love about the town that you live in? And because we do have listeners all over 100 countries that tune in every week, um, and they're living vicariously through you, take us through, like walk us through Beau's Carpinteria, like your favorite bar, restaurant, place to get a cup of cold brew, place of your favorite music venue. Give us a couple highlights.
Um, well, my favorite place to hang out in Carpinteria uh, is the bluffs of Carpinteria. Um, it's just a delightful space with very vibrant energy for me personally, where I've spent a lot of time walking and reflecting and um, exercising, meditating, uh, wandering around at night, wondering about the secrets of the universe, these types of things. So that's my number one spot is the bluffs of Carpi, as I call them sometimes.
Sounds a little dangerous wandering around them at night.
Uh, Possibly,
You know your way around.
yeah. Uh, been there many times, but yeah, that's the main kind of fulcrum around which everything kind of spins, the spiritual energy of this area, which used to be, of course, a native Shumash village out on the bluffs of Carpi. Um, and so much respect to the ancestors as well. So other places I like to hang out, uh, just I walk a lot, so walking through town is fun. It's a really close knit community, so whenever I go for a walk, I'm bound to run into somebody I know and say hello, how's it going? Um, I I enjoy a pint, a cold foamer, as they say. So I hang out at the brew lab quite a bit down at the end of Carpinteria Avenue, and there's another brewery called Island Brew that's got a great patio. Um, Looks out at the ocean. They're great as well. So we have a pretty vibrant beer scene here for being such a small town. We have
Yeah, you do.
two production breweries at this point, and then a couple of breweries that are not production breweries, but they're storefronts for breweries. Now we have Third Window, and also Rincon is still down on Carpentry Avenue. So a lot of beer heads, a lot of hop heads in this town. So that's fun. Uh, and
It's a really great, you mentioned walking. It's such a great town to walk in, isn't it?
yeah,
It's like, I don't know what, it's a small town, small town America feel on a beach, almost like maybe on the East Coast, maybe, Nantucket or something like that, somewhere like that. Just these really great beaches and bluffs and then the towns, little cottages and small vendors, small, proprietors. It's
mhm.
really is a beautiful town.
It is kind of like going back in time, really. I mean, um, there's a feeling of I used to say it's like Andy of Mayberry. Like I used to watch the Andy Griffith show as a kid. It was one of my babysitters was Andy Griffith, um, the TV show.
Yeah.
I joke, of course, but it kind of has, or maybe maybe not as much anymore. I mean, carpentry is growing up a bit, but it still has that small town feel of everybody knowing each other and kind of taking care of each other and a feeling of community, like we're here to support each other, and that's
Is
really
that
nice.
why you live there? Is that one of the reasons?
That's one of the things I fell in love with. Yeah, that and of course the bluffs, like I mentioned, and the sort of quieter, slower pace of life I really needed at the time that I moved here. I was really trying to figure out a lot of things, figuring out what I wanted to be when I grew up, so to speak, at that time, and so it was I don't know, I was game for the adventure. Uh, I originally moved down here with a friend to um, live with him while he learned how to grow cannabis. And then that didn't quite work out for him. And then I ended up just meeting a bunch of people here that I loved and loving being near the ocean. When I was a kid, I always wanted to live near the ocean. So um, the dream came true and I stayed.
You made it happen. Well, Bo, you're such a beautiful, vivid storyteller. What stories are you most interested in telling? Is there something that you like that you gravitate towards?
Hmm. I don't really think of things in terms of story so much. I think of things in terms of like an emotional process, but I suppose they are really stories. Uh, they're stories of working through things that may be perceived as negative or difficult, and finding the positive through that experience, being able to accept and play with things that may feel dark, but turn them into uh, a beautiful flower. I mean, the flower doesn't exist without the thorn, so it's about embracing both of those aspects of life, and allowing the beauty to come forth, not in spite of the thorn, but in fact because of it. And so those are the types of stories I'm really interested in relaying through uh, sort of a poetic style of lyrical expression. I'm more wanting to elicit a visceral response as opposed to a cognitive, like following along, like the main character did this and then he did this. More like, oh, I'm feeling something in my gut because of the
Mm.
words I'm hearing from this guy.
How do you keep that imagination stoked, creative, flowing? Is there a process that works for you? A place, you mentioned the bluffs, Carpinteria, where you go and you feel spiritual and you are in touch with ancestors. And are there certain places or things that you can do for your imagination and to continue to put out these really powerful messages?
So the main bulk of it is really rooted in self-study. I feel like if I can study myself, study something I'm working through, working with, and express that in a way that draws me in viscerally, then it's bound to have that same effect on someone else. So meditation, journaling, walking, those are all ways of getting in touch with and exploring like self-development, uh, working through problems for myself and figuring out how to be a better person, how to be a more uh, honest person, how to be more present with life. That I guess I could add to that. That's part of the stories that I want to tell is how to come to a greater sense of presence with this one precious life.
Is that challenging as a songwriter? I mean, you're really digging deep and you've got to boil it down to a visceral feeling, as you say, for the listener, to inspire, to really get you. Is that challenging as a songwriter, or have you developed that skill along with your style?
I think if it's not challenging, then I'm doing something wrong. If the song doesn't hurt me to make it, like if I don't feel like some kind of degree of emotional like discomfort, or like I'm going through some kind of pain to like give birth to this thing, then it's probably worthless. So yes, it's definitely challenging.
Yeah.
Sometimes the song can take a really long time to finish lyrically. I mean, musically, it's not quite uh, as challenging. I mean, I typically would be done with a chord progression relatively quickly, in a matter of maybe um, I don't know, a day or a week or a couple weeks, and then like I could work on lyrics for forever, for a really long time,
Yeah.
um, because I'm so scrupulous with wording. A lot of times, it's really important to me that things are phrased in a very particular way that elicits a certain emotion.
And so I think that's really interesting what you said. The song has to hurt you before you can release it or you can let it go. Um,
Hmm.
does it, but a chord progression can come quickly, but the lyrics may take longer. I don't think I've ever heard an artist say this before, so I'm really interested in what you're saying. Are you saying that um, the lyric has to hurt, has to feel? You have to feel that.
Right. Yeah.
Uh, Not so much the music that comes along with it, maybe, but it's first the lyric rather than the music that has to really make you feel. before you feel it's ready to set to music?
I mean, the two are certainly entwined. Like the music is like the stage, the setting for the lyrical storytelling that's going to happen. And the lyrical storytelling is like when I said like it has to hurt me, it has to like expose some kind of vulnerability within myself where I'm pausing to reflect on something that I did wrong or that I could do better at or that I experienced that was difficult so that I can work through it lyrically. And so those things are often challenging to face directly. Uh, but that's why I think of songwriting as a spiritual practice, as a component of my spiritual practice, along with meditation and certainly uh, journaling and walking and just being alone. I don't really work with plants so much as I used to, but like I used to do a lot of gardening in my backyard. I've been so busy with things recently, I haven't for a while. But that's also a kind of a part of my ethos is the connection with nature. So being able to go for walks on a regular basis and reach out and touch a leaf and smell the air is very crucial to that feeling of connection.
Hmm. Do you remember? I think you started writing songs around 15, if I'm right.
Hmm.
Started music and writing songs. Do you remember the subject of your very first song? And how has it evolved to where you're at currently as a songwriter? How how have you evolved?
Hmm. Uh, I vaguely remember the first song that I wrote, and I think I have definitely evolved since then. I think it was kind of like there's a lot of youthful sprite and naivete accompanying my enthusiasm for writing at the time. But I mean, nonetheless, um, it was a beautiful time period. I think the first song was called Pigments of the Past, either that or Keep Smiling. And Pigments of the Past was kind of like about the the past following me around. Um, but I thought that I made an interesting musical work, and the lyrics were okay, but they were just way too obtuse, and I was just kind of uh, not very well studied. I think I was just kind of like bashing it out and trying to be weird, and um, I think I'm more
I like the
reflective.
title.
But a title is kind of half the battle sometimes.
Yeah, I like it. What do you think you're going to be singing about when you're 80?
Hmm. Hopefully, life and death and joy. I mean, and the experience of it. I don't know, love and connection, and hopefully all the things I'm singing about now, but just more and more uh,
More
deeply.
wisdom
Yeah,
applied. Yeah. So what came first for you, or what comes first for you, the story, the lyrics, or the guitar?
I think I took a lot from something that Roger Waters once said that he gets inspired by a lyrical fragment of maybe about 5 words or so, something in that vicinity, and then that idea is a seed for a bigger concept. And so that's something that I kind of have worked with a lot with my writing. Some kind of idea that's usually just a couple words long uh, comes to mind, and it relates to an emotional process that I'm thinking about or working through.
The spark for you.
Hmm. And then things kind of build around that.
What made you pick up a guitar in the first place?
So I had two uncles that played guitar at family gatherings, And one of them was kind of a more folky hippie type of a dude, and the other one was bona fide metal kid, of the 80s, with lots of tattoos and a mullet. And so that really says a lot about where my style is at this point, and where my direction is. Like I'm really embracing this sort of notion of like folk metal, the combination of the two. Uh, I like to play aggressively and rock out and jump around and headbang. But I also love acoustic instruments. I love folk music. I love the tradition of folk, how it goes back, you know, hundreds of years, and there's so many stories, and uh, there's so many um, travels that it's gone through, the various songs. So, but then like I love getting in a mosh pit. So that's what really inspired me, was hanging out with those guys, and they would just sit there and jam, and I would be transfixed by their jamming. And then I just begged my parents for a guitar, and
I got to do that too.
yeah,
In the beginning of the show, opening the show, I talked about like what incredible determination, you have as a music artist, and how many hours and hours of practice on your guitar before you felt like you were ready to share some of your music.
gosh, I don't even know. It's been a long time that I've been playing out now. And I think when I first, like, not when I first started taking it seriously, but when I first sort of came up with the idea of like, okay, I'm going to be a solo artist. Like I was trying to find a band for a while, and it just kept not really working out. I couldn't find people uh, that were interested, or like just it just didn't work out. So this is around maybe 2014 or so. I just remember, uh, not I hesitate to say like locking myself in, but like in a way, like just kind of clamping down and like saying, okay, I'm going to be practicing uh, Black Flag style, um, for myself, and I'm just going to get this stuff down, and I'm going to find a way to express it. I'm going to go to open mic nights. I'm going to go out on the street and play these songs. And so I remember getting home from work, getting off the bus, going, speeding home from work, and just being super excited about picking up the guitar. And I would like tie a dish towel around my head, because I would play so hard that I'd be just pouring sweat, which is true to this day. When I play shows, I usually take a spare shirt to change into, because I sweat profusely because I'm just rocking. Um, so that was kind of like a very formative period where I was just like really doing the hard work to build up my confidence, and just physically, like the muscles as well in the
Yeah.
arms, fingers, and vocal cords and such, to just really to belt it out, and to feel like I could do it on autopilot in a way.
You know how they say, I think they say something like to get really good at anything, you've got to put in those 10,000 hours. Do you think it's the same with music, or does it
Sure,
do,
yeah. I
yeah?
that makes total sense. I'm not sure how many hours I have. I'd like to think it's approaching that number. I've played a lot over the last decades, but um, it's hard to tell.
What's your relationship with your instrument? Your main instrument is your guitar, right?
Correct.
What do you feel when you play, when it's just you alone practicing or playing or writing a song? What are you feeling when you're doing that? What does it bring to you?
Very much depends on the task at hand.
Hmm.
If I'm rehearsing for a gig, then it's just like all business. Like, let's just get this done. Let's make sure I've got the words down, the changes down, uh, the riffs down, and it's kind of mathematical. Um, if I'm writing, or sort of like in the very beginning stages of writing, then it's a very exploratory relationship where I'm giving myself the space and the forgiveness to just wander around on the fretboard and just kind of be weird and experiment. And that is a very freeing and beautiful experience. A friend of mine one time said it's like you're going fishing, you're casting your line out there across the fretboard and just coming up with these different phrases and progressions and seeing seeing who bites. So that's a beautiful feeling. It's
Yeah.
also a beautiful feeling to do that hard work of rehearsing too, because I mean it's like this is what I love. This is my work. This is like I'm preparing to go out there and give it my all, and
And do what you love.
do what I love. And this is what I feel I'm on this planet to do, is to make meaningful music that rocks out, that's fun, that hopefully inspires others to I don't know what. I'm not gonna. I can't tell other people how to be inspired, but I hope it inspires other people in some way.
Does the world come in when you're playing, or does it all melt away for you? Does your mind give itself to the music and to the experience?
It's kind of like that's the way. That's the place where I feel most myself in any uh, articulation of the playing. It like if I'm doing the free experimentation, that is definitely like a sort of like poetic wandering in the woods um, type of a situation where I'm like discovering new things about myself by virtue of just experimenting with these different sounds. And then when I'm on stage shredding with my dudes, then that's another experience where it feels like that this is a reflection of my true self. I'm giving my absolute love to the instrument, the performance, and the audience. And it's for me, it's an expression of love of life, uh, and love of others.
I mean, the way you describe it's beautiful. How do you repay that gift that music gives you? Can you? Because it sounds like it gives you so much of what you're seeking and just really fuels you.
Hmm, absolutely. So one thing I really enjoy uh, whenever I can, however I can, is to help other musicians. I mean, I'm not really like a big shot. I'm not a big name, so I don't have a lot of leverage to pull people up, but I will pull people up as much as I can by saying positive words or um, putting somebody onto a gig if I have the power to do so, or um, taking a couple videos of somebody at a gig and posting it on my social media. Uh, However, I can help other artists to uh, explore and exploit and pursue their passion for music. I see that as a way of giving back.
Yeah, for sure. When you were 18, something happened in your life that changed it forever. Can you tell me what happened?
Hmm. So I went to Europe. Well, actually, I went to Europe when I was 17, and then I turned 18 in Scotland, and I got drunk and I got kicked out of a bar. Is that what you're referring to?
No, that could be. That sounds like a good story. You can tell that one. I was thinking, didn't you you lost some of your vision, some of your sight,
That's correct. Yeah, and I'm
but tell
sorry
the
for
other
being
story
ornery.
too.
So the story goes that like we were in Barcelona at the time at McDonald's. The people that I went to Europe with kept wanting to go to McDonald's for some reason. I don't know why, but oh well, it's another story.
Now we got
Um,
three.
I could not read the McDonald's menu, and my friend was saying, "Well, I don't have my glasses and I feel like I can't hardly see at all without my glasses. So you must be really having some problems. And so my friends became very concerned about me not being able to see so well. And that afternoon, we found an optometrist in Spain, and they did some tests, and they found that I was nearly completely blind in my left eye. And at the time, I just thought it was kind of funny. I think I was scared, and so I thought it was funny to sort of hide the fear. Uh, and then, thankfully, that was towards the end of the trip. Uh, the next stop was Paris to fly home, and they didn't have a ticket for me, which was kind of scary. I thought I was going to be living on the streets of Paris, bumming around. Um, but thankfully, they found it after a long time of waiting. Probably, it seems like it was a couple hours of panicking because everybody else had a ticket. So I was like leaving the blind guy
You guys are gonna go, you'd have to go busk on the streets of Paris for your ticket.
and I didn't even have a good ticket at the time. Um, but yeah, then it turned out I got back home and they meaning various medical professionals ran a bunch of tests for a while, couldn't figure out what was wrong with me. I was in UC Davis um, hospital for about a week, and they just were running all these tests and spinal tap and all types of stuff. And finally, they found out that I had something called Leber's disease, which is a rare um, disorder that affects the optic nerve. Basically, like my optic nerves are like really shriveled up if you kind of look in the back of my brain. Um, so not a lot of information is getting through there. I have pretty decent like peripheral vision, but a lot of blockage in the direct vision. So like I can see really big stuff, and I can pretty well get around walking, and it's not like the safest thing in the world, but I do love to jog. So, and especially like in Carpinteria where it's relatively mellow and I know the area, like I can jog around pretty safely. But can't drive, can't read like normal size print. I don't recognize people's faces a lot of times. And if I see somebody, I won't recognize them by their face. I would recognize them possibly by their body language or their voice.
How did this affect the music and your music career that was taken off?
Uh,
Did it?
at that point, I wasn't sure what to do with my life. I was always wanting to play music. I always knew that that was something that I wanted to do, but this was definitely a curveball, and I had to do some rehabilitation as far as like figuring out how to read Braille um, for a bit. I mean, I don't really use Braille, but I went through the process of learning how to use it just in case, um, and learning how to use screen reading software. So like my computer talks to me, and tells me what's on the screen. That's how I read your emails. So things like that, and then like learning how to use the vision that I do have, learning how to get around and like safely on the street and stuff like that. There's various orientation and mobility type of things that I was learning at that time when I got back from Europe, and then just the emotional uh, process of like, okay, well, I really wanted to be like the front person of a band. I wanted to be Sid Barrett. Um, I wanted to be Jim Morrison, Robbie Krieger, um, Jello Biafra. All these people. I was so into them, and I wanted to be like that. Uh, I didn't want to be like that. I wanted to be that. And so, like the onset of disability, and then at the same time, my parents were getting a divorce, so that was certainly emotionally challenging as well. And uh, yeah, I was very very confused, uh, angry for a while. I mean, when you're a youth, you're oftentimes a bit angry and mixed up, and I think those extra challenges certainly didn't help. Um,
Did
with
you feel like you might lose that dream, that you weren't, maybe it would stand in the way of becoming who you wanted to become?
well, maybe not entirely. I mean, I think around that time I met a guy who became a really close friend for a while, and we had a bit of a musical partnership. He wrote songs, and I kind of thought, well, I'm not good enough. I don't know. I can't. I think having a disability really contributed to that feeling of not being good enough. Uh, I'm not good enough to like get out there and write songs and um, be the front person. That type of dream. I'm gonna kind of put that on hold, and I'll just play drums for this guy. And so I did that for a while, and I played drums and bass in a couple other bands. Um, After that, kind of thinking, well, I'm not really good enough to do my own thing. I'll just, kind of hang back and support other people. Uh, and so I'm glad I did. I mean, I'm glad I kept playing. But I went through phases of like, well, I have to get like a really good, secure government job because I have a disability. And so I need to have that safety and that security. Um, Thinking again, like I'm not good enough to be an artist and live the artist life because I have a disability. And so I went deep into that errant way of thinking for, I suppose, uh, over a decade, nearly 2 decades, and really started to like work my way out of that in in and around 2015. I started thinking, well, I'll write some songs and put them out, and I won't take it too seriously, and I'll just stick to the state job and um, just kind of do it for fun and be a hobbyist. But then as I kept going, as you kind of alluded to in your introduction, the sucker would not leave me alone, the muse, and I just kept feeling like I need to do this. I need to put myself out there. I need to put my music out as my music and not be always backing up other people. Not that there's anything wrong with that. It was fun, but I want my heart and my storytelling and my songwriting, my unique expression to be to be felt and known and feel that connection and show who I am on the inside to the world.
And you have, when they say that when you lose one sense, or one sense is maybe not working as well as the others, that the others step up and that the other senses become more powerful. Did you have any heightened senses with, that added to your music abilities at all? Because correct me if I'm wrong, but you're legally blind, right? I mean, that's how
Mhm.
to say that you're legally blind. And I'm just wondering, did you find higher highs? Did your musical abilities adapt at all to your situation?
I'm not sure. I mean, I feel like it's like a horse that has blinders on. It's not necessarily like I don't know. It's like they're focusing only on the track because that's all they can see. Um, that doesn't necessarily mean that their vision is the senses that they do have are better. That's where the focus is obligatorily placed. Uh,
I
so
feel
like
like, yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
because there's less to focus on visually, I'm primarily focused on what's happening auditorily. And another example that kind of feeds into that is like people's vocal tone. Like I'm really sensitive to vocal tone. If somebody says something that's really like that's very nice, but they say it in a kind of nasty way, It's like it really affects me. Interesting like that.
It is interesting. I feel like you're such a positive, that you look at things so positively. Excuse me. As and if I'm right, is there anything that you've found greater appreciation for because of the challenges that you've been faced with?
I'm sincerely grateful to have conversations like these, to be able to talk about artistry and creativity, and to be able to have the relationships that I do with other people who are creative. That is really priceless. That level of and that type of intimacy is something that's very unique and precious. Um, and that's, it's certainly beyond senses, but being able to have people in my life that, because I have decided, maybe 5 to 10 years ago, to start taking this more and more seriously, I feel like I've surrounded myself with more and more people who uh, I can talk to about creativity and support and be supported by. And that's a really beautiful thing. I'm infinitely grateful for it. This feeling of connection.
Yeah, I agree. I borrowed this next question from your writing, and it was a question I think you asked of yourself as you were writing a song. And you're talking about your own flaws and how they enhance the magic of your story. Can you explain that a little bit more? How do your flaws enhance the magic of your story?
Did I say that? That sounds pretty good.
Yeah,
I'll have to write that down.
you did. I borrowed it from you.
um, I think that's the magic of any story, really. I mean, to to transcend, like I was talking about, the thorn and the rose being one. It's this journey of realization that the so-called flaw, when seen with clear perception, can really contribute to a person's capability to understand, to contribute to others, society, the universe. Uh, and that is the story, kind of, in a way. It's like that, finding your way through the flaw and then realizing that everything was always perfect to begin with, but you wouldn't have known that unless you had went through the journey of figuring out the flaw.
Yeah.
And that, all of that is magical to me.
Do you consider yourself a philosopher?
uh,
You're a very
Philosopher.
you're a very inspired thinker.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I don't necessarily think of myself as a philosopher. I'm just a guy trying to make sense of it all. And hopefully have fun and connect with other people in the process.
One of the songs I really love that you did is called The Dove.
Hmm.
And it was inspired, I did a little reading. It was inspired by your father who suffered a brain injury. Can you tell us about your father? Yeah, I know you dedicated The Dove to, is this David Charles Wilding?
That is his name. Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you for saying it. Yeah. So
Why
my
was he called The Dove?
my father was known as the Dove in college by some of his college buddies, because he was such a peaceful dude. And that was not known to me until after his death, his best friend Bob, we call Uncle Bob, uh, talked about that at his celebration of life, and so that was what inspired me to write the song. Because hearing that, I was like, well, yeah, no shit. He, my father was quite the dove. He was a very peaceful person, uh, and was he certainly had his flaws, but he was very much an example of forgiving others and not taking life too seriously, focusing on what really matters, which is the preciousness of the time we have here and our relationships with people. And his journey was a long one. He had his first uh, stroke at the age of 35, which is, I believe, was the biggest one. And then from that point forward, the rest of his life was basically a series of challenges around rehabilitation with that. And so for me, having a disability occur in my adolescence, I was certainly angry at him for a while, not knowing why. I think I was, after a lot of self-study and therapy, I realized I was angry at him because he wasn't able to be there for me. And then knowing that that was why I was angry at him, I was able to forgive him and also go on a journey of self-forgiveness for being angry at him for something that he couldn't control. Uh, Dad couldn't throw the ball, and hang out like the rest of the dads did uh, on the soccer team or the baseball team or what have you. But he was always supportive and always wanted me to be myself and to be my fullest expression of myself. Uh, Certainly, I could ramble about how much I love my father for a while.
Did you play music for him?
Yeah, and he was very supportive of that. He contributed to me purchasing my first uh, reasonably good acoustic guitar when I turned 30.
What was his favorite song that he wanted you to play for him when you would play music for him?
Well, he always wanted me to play Leo Kottke, or actually, it was John Fahey's version of, um, gosh, what's the name of that one? It's a finger picking tune. It's an old hymn. In Christ there is no east or west. He always wanted me to play that one. So I would oblige that whenever I could.
Uh, Here's another question inspired by you and lyrics. Maybe you've already answered it. If you have, we'll move on. But how have your missteps, Beau, guided your path?
Brilliant question.
And I
Is it
love this quote you had there. I think I found this on your website. Flowers fall even though we love them. Love that quote.
and quote sorry, credit where credit's due. That's actually from Zen Master Dogen, from the 13th century. But yeah, I love that line, and it occurs to me often when I see a flower wilting, especially. Uh, but how have my missteps shaped my journey? Is that what you?
Yeah, yeah, that was something that you wrote that I turned into my own. But basically, yeah. How have those mishaps in life, in your life, guided your path? Do you think?
I feel like the biggest one that comes to mind was like this aspect of self-denial that I kind of touched on earlier, like thinking that I wasn't good enough to be an artist and to live as an artist in the world. and that I needed to suppress that and just mind my own business and go to work in a secure job. Um, and again, not that there's anything wrong with that, but I felt like I was living in a sense of spiritual death for a while, not allowing myself to fully be myself. And so I had a lot of antipathy for myself for doing that for so long. Uh, I suppose a bit of regret. I mean, I don't want to sit here and say I have no regrets. I think people can have regrets as long as you can learn with them. It's okay to misstep here and there.
Yeah.
So so yeah, I felt like I closeted my true self for so many years behind the doors of having this quote unquote good job. Um, and then finally, when I left the secure full-time employment, um, it feels like the tourniquet has come off, and it's like
Oh,
I
that's so great. So great.
yeah, it's definitely a feeling of release. Like there's definitely like there's a lot of unknown, and there's more like different types of stress, uh, and like everything isn't uh, butterflies and roses, but like at the end of the day, I would rather have the challenge of living to pursue my dreams, the challenges that are involved in being a fullest articulation of myself that I can possibly be. I'd rather have those challenges than the challenges of feeling like I'm not measuring up to uh, something that just some boss has me do. Like,
Yeah.
and no shade on people that I worked with. I worked with a lot of great people in my career, and had some good things that I learned from my experience doing that. But um, now I get to pursue things on my terms.
Well, I've got congratulations for that and for that breakthrough and arriving where you are today. And pursuing. That's what I was talking about at the beginning. That takes so much courage, but it's so rewarding, I'm sure, to do what you know you're meant to do, what you're here to do, not standing in the way of that. We've only got 2 minutes left because we're about to play your new single, "The Lowlands of Holland," and it's a great song. I want to have you talk about it a little bit, but just keep in mind I've only got 2 minutes so that we can get the whole song in in this hour. The Lowlands of Holland is your interpretation of a folk ballad whose earliest written recordings date back to the mid 18th century in Scotland. And the Lowlands of Holland comes from a lineage of folk ballads known as anti-conscription songs. What are anti-conscription songs? Just a quick answer, because I want you to tell the story of the song.
Well, so conscription is kind of like the draft. So like
Okay.
kind of saying no to the state or the government coming in and drafting people, or in this case, this song comes from like the practice of press gangs or uh, what they call impressment, coming and actually kidnapping people to serve in the British Royal Navy.
Okay, so tell the story quickly, if you could, about this song. The the man's ship is lost at sea after he's been impressed by the British government to serve in the Royal Navy.
Mhm,
He leaves the woman bereaved, sullen, disillusioned.
mhm. And then she basically swears she'll never love again. Uh, and in my mind, there is like a ferocity in that, uh, in her emotional state that was missing from a lot of the feeling of the other renditions that I wanted to bring to life. Like the poignancy of the emotion, I felt could be expressed in a more fierce way. And that's what I feel like creators do. I mean, we look at the world, we look at what exists in the world, and we see there's something missing here that I want to bring to life. And so that fierce emotion, I feel like that was my goal in making this song as it is. And so my version's a little bit different. It's a little more driving, a little more fierce, a little more
And
metal.
you used a couple instruments that I haven't heard before or of before, um, to invoke some of these feelings that you're talking about. Like, is it the bodhran?
About on, yeah.
A run
So yeah,
invokes the feeling of being trapped, right, at a storm at sea. The Shruti box. I haven't heard of these.
so
Tell me
yeah,
about it. Yeah.
Shruti box is a part of the harmonium family. It's a droning instrument where you would select the keys that you want, and then you basically pump the bellows, and it makes only the notes that you select. So that's it, it just droning the entire time, and it's very entrancing. It's used oftentimes for kirtan chanting. Uh, I believe it originated in India, but I'm not sure. So that's that, and then the bowron is an older traditional Celtic instrument, probably came around in the late 1700s or so, related to the tambourine, and it's a frame drum. Typically, they would use goat skin to stretch over a circle of wood, and often most played in Ireland. And on the recording, my friend Tom Kenny is playing the bowron, and I also play bowron. I played bowron on my previous record. Um, but these recordings were done live, all three of us together, Tom Kenny, Chad Martin, and myself, in the live room in Adelon Catalog Studios in rural Ireland last year.
Yeah. And then the finalization and the mixing and post production was at Castaway 7 Studios in Ventura.
Correct.
Okay, so there's a beautiful, we're gonna play this song right now. Uh there's a beautiful, really incredible video. Well done on that. Would you like to give anybody thanks or credit due where it belongs? And that's on YouTube. So check out, go to Beau James Wilding YouTube, subscribe, and then check out the Lowlands of Holland video.
Yeah, absolutely. Uh, First and foremost, thank you to Ailes, who is the main character, ALES. She did a brilliant job conveying the emotion of the bereaved woman. I'm just super grateful for her performance. And also, my friend David Samudio was there on site taking pictures and kind of documenting the thing, but he was also of support with some of the strategy as far as um, pulling things together and just
It's beautiful.
being a bud. And then 15 Birds Productions, Joseph Arney, was the guy that did the actual filming and editing.
Okay, we're going to hear that next. Beau performs regularly in Santa Barbara and the surrounding area. He's gained an infamous reputation for his high energy, emotionally charged gigs that encompass tones of gritty folk, driving rock, and the storytelling of an impassioned ballad. You can go to beaujameswilding.com/shows to see upcoming appearance dates. And I'm going to give you two right now because they're coming up pretty quickly. The Don't Fall Music Fest, Dr. No, Goosebot, Ding Mao, Beau James Wilding, and Ren Hunt on Saturday, September 6th at 3 p.m. to 8 p.m. in the Carpinteria Skate Park in Carpinteria. This sounds like a great time. Come
Yeah.
enjoy an afternoon of high energy music at Carpinteria's awesome skate park and bring your board and have a sesh. But don't fall. Beau James Wilding Band M Special Anniversary Party Sunday, September 7th at 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. at the M Special Brewery, the Goleta Tap Room. That's on 6860 Cortona Drive, Building C in Goleta. Don't forget to check out Beau on his socials. He's got a link tree, he's got a website, and he's got whole lot more. Go to vibe.to/Beau James Wilding. Photo credits and the video, as he said, goes to Ailes for this show. And you can also follow him on Instagram, Beau James Wilding. Okay, Beau, so great to meet you. Thank you for sending me your music on Radio Evolve. And would you recommend that to other musicians out there, music artists?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, that's how we met, guys. If you're a music artist and you're listening, go to radio evolve.rocks and send me your music. We'll get it on the air and maybe we'll even do an interview together. That's how Beau and I met. Beau, thank you so much. And for all your time today and your great questions. I knew you wouldn't disappoint. I really loved getting to know you today. And go to find your music on everywhere. It's everywhere. The Lowlands of Holland, though, is up right now. Communicate, but listen more and evolve. Have a great day, everybody. Enjoy.